Howdy out there, everybody. I sound cowboyish there for a sec. I have no idea why I did that. It's the Tuesday edition of the SportsCage. It's Barney, Shynkaruk. It is going to be Kellin, Enslev here, Colson, and Alan with me, and a number of guests as we get going here talking athletics for the next 3 hours. If you're watching the stream, I have this sheet right here because we thought the CFL schedule was getting released today. We were under the impression that it was getting released. We talked to some people talked to us, and nothing was set in stone, but it was like, and they like to do things at 1 p.m. Eastern, just 12 o'clock our time. So noon came, and noon went, and nothing on the CFL front. Then I'm getting text messages, and not that I am far, as you all know, that have been listening to the show for however long now. I am far from CFL insider guy. Love the league, love watching it, love playing the sport, gamble on it, probably way too much. But insider, I am not. And somebody that is kind of has some inside baseball on the CFL, it's kind of the buzzword that the kids say nowadays, was one team, and I have no idea the team. If I did, I would tell you, was kind of kicking and screaming about what was released. So then now they are back to juggling, changing. How annoying would this be at the league level that you come out with something and you have to change it? It's like if you've ever planned a trip with a number of people. I always said like 2-3 people, the best. Mrs. asked once in a while, we'll go like, oh, we should, go on a trip with this couple and this couple and this. And in theory, it sounds great. It's an absolute disaster. And then people want to do their own thing, which is totally fine because I want to do my own thing, especially when you're on vacation. The last thing you want to do. But then you got to juggle schedules. And then these people like doing this, and they want to do this at this time. They want to go to the water park here. They want to go to the club. It's just annoying. So to have a team that's now allegedly kicking and screaming that they didn't like what was released, and this could all be erroneous information as well, but something is weird because I researched last year, what was it, December 14th, fellas? That I said, and then the year before was like December 13th. So we are right before Christmas, which we've talked about on this program a number of times, that would be the logical time to release a CFL schedule because of Christmas presents and planning and trips, and that probably only plays into a few of the teams. I don't think anyone in Toronto really gives a rip or plans anything around CFL, but other ones, Saskatchewan, probably the most. Winnipeg as well. So I find it really odd, really weird, annoying, and I'm sure somebody in the league office that's doing a schedule that is like spreadsheet guy or girl is just like, are you serious? We got to do this again? It'll come out. It'll hopefully come out at some point. Like, secrets can't be kept anymore. Ask Joy Taylor. It'll come out. Probably the best spreadsheet guy that I know is sitting beside me right now in Kellin Enslev. He's got everything buttoned up spreadsheet-wise. You've been around the Western Hockey League with scheduling. You've been around Soccer Saskatchewan. Is it Soccer Saskatchewan or Regina? Soccer Saskatchewan scheduling. Now you're with Hockey Regina, which would be a nightmare when it comes to scheduling. What's your take on the CFL being so late to the party here with a schedule release, and now allegedly having to juggle it because of somebody doesn't like that they're not going to the right restaurant in a certain evening if you're going on a trip, so to speak.
Yeah, I think the delay is confusing, I would say, to me. All the things you touched on with the importance of December and pre-Christmas and travel, but then also for a lot of these teams, take Saskatchewan out of the mix, but there may be opportunities there where people want to buy ticket packages for Christmas and things like that for people.
Yeah.
In terms of the logistics of making changes, it sometimes is just a disaster. And I know that, before this season, you talked about, I recently made a change over to Hockey Regina, and people were like, oh, can we just get like the first few weeks of our schedule? And it's like, well, you can. The problem is we don't know how many teams there's going to be. And they're like, well, just make one with 6 teams and one with 7 teams and one with 8 teams. And I was like, yeah, we have, we have 156 teams in Hockey Regina and a finite amount of ice.
You know what we'll do? I'll make you 4 options. Give me a break.
I actually laughed last week because God bless central scheduling, the city of Regina, but I'm currently working on schedules for tournaments for next year, for the 25-26, to request the ice. I think Hockey Regina historically has been very good about using the ice that we ask for. Some other organizations maybe less so, but one of the requirements now is to send all of your complete schedules. And so in conversations with our new executive director, Amanda Hungle, we're trying to grow, we're trying to change. So I'm putting together schedules against nothing because I have no idea what ice I'm actually going to be allocated, and then I might be restarting. Coming up in February, we have a U11B tournament where there's a sample schedule built by my predecessor, Blair Watson, for 20 teams, 21 teams, 22 teams, and 24 teams. So I bet you can guess that we have 23 teams this year. So I got to make another schedule for that. And then people were like, oh, well, we were planning to go to the Pats game. I was like, oh, well, you might be the only ones at that time of year. But no, I love you, Regina Pats. So that's the thing, right? Is it's so hard once changes start to happen to rebuild schedules. So I can only imagine, especially with the logistics of travel, with teams staying. Like a lot of times the Saskatchewan Roughriders do, they go to BC and then stay in Edmonton or whatever it may be. But yeah, you got to think it's coming soon, or they're gonna get caught in the shuffle of other sports becoming more prevalent.
We had a text yesterday, 936-6262. What do you think about this whole Gong Show? Because I did pose the question yesterday, I could pose it again today, is what do people like? And somebody messaged in yesterday, it might have actually been 2 people, that they come in from out of town so often, so they love the Saturday night games. It gives them the day to kind of come in, travel, probably hit the SCO or whatever, go to the game, maybe wake up whenever, and then hightail back home. So Saturdays I would think would be a popular day for Saskatchewan fans and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Now, you talked about travel. What about the travel for the league and the team? Like, you are chartering a bird every time, an airplane, every time you have to go somewhere. Now, I'm not totally sure on how busy WestJet is. I don't have the inner workings, but I'm sure when it comes to chartering planes for all the teams in the league and how many times, like, there are some logistical nightmare pieces to that, because a plane goes down here, plane's got to go there. No, this has got to go because it's a charter. It's got to go. And then schedules for airports, for everybody in the staff, our facility staff, Mosaic Stadium. I'm sure they would like to know what the heck is going on when people want to plan. Dave Thomas, broadcasting team, what's my bye week so I can go hang out with my family.
Yeah, I got a sneaking suspicion that the teams have their schedule, and that it's just a very minor adjustment here. History would say in every league in the world, the teams are involved in the scheduling, and it wouldn't just be a surprise to them where it's just dropping.
I would think Justin Dunk would have found that out then. He's in the inside of a number of teams, I think.
Yeah. But I just think about, in terms of building their schedule, every league of relevance anywhere, the teams are involved in the scheduling, whether it's completely, even, all the way down to Roman's team, right? They're picking all their road games for the whole season. They pick every single time they travel. They get a whole mind map, and they get to choose when they travel.
Don't get me started on my daughter's team. We are going to Doddsland, Saskatchewan. Do you know where that is, Alan? It's like 4 hours and a bit from here, in the middle of nowhere, in between Kerrobert and, I don't know, Wilkie. Anywho, you got to go to like Rosetown and then up. And I think there's actually probably a portage at some point in there that you got to get out. But we're going to Doddsland, Saskatchewan on a Sunday from Regina for one game. They rescheduled the game, and that's what they gave us for an option. You know what I would have given them for an option? I would have been, if it was video, there would have been 2 fingers involved. And I'd have been like, call us in late February if this game's even going to mean anything. And then we will rent the ice in Kenniston, I don't know, somewhere. And you guys we are not going to Doddsland on a Sunday. You know what that is like? And I don't know, maybe people didn't understand where Doddsland is. Maybe they thought it was somewhere around here that starts with a D. But we have to go there. It would be like driving to Minot for one game and then turning around and driving back. Like, you just say that out loud, that sounds ridiculous. There's no way. If someone said you can go to Minot and skate with Mike Madani or golf or whatever, I wouldn't do it. I'm saying, no, that's crazy. No, but I got to go with my daughter's team to Doddsland on a random Sunday. So there's my rant on scheduling and what the heck happened to that.
Yeah, and I know,
what's a forfeit worth in that league?
I'm not sure. Local league, it's 5-0 and costs you nothing. But that's the thing, is in those leagues, we have lots of it, especially in December. There were lots of teams with the weather that we had and the fact that some of our associate members are in Moose Jaw and Weyburn and things like that were like, we're not going to travel, and we're going to wait, like you said, see if the points even matter or if we just call it a day and try again later. But yeah, there's been a fair amount of these reschedules we talk about. Some of the teams changing rinks. I know after that 15 AA scheduling meeting, one of the coaches was sort of building his schedule around another child that was hoping to play in another league this year that didn't work out, and
disaster,
the timing, and they got moved around, and it was like, I thought I was going to be here, and now I'm actually 2 hours that way playing in Nipawin.
Did you see what Roscoe just texted in?
That's what I was going to tell you.
If you're taking a bus to Doddsland, take spare parts. Roscoe, it's a good one to start the program today. Schedule Grey Cup Canadian Thanksgiving, I hope. Crofty, thanks, buddy. You know I'm on board. That would be my thing if I was commissioner. We're playing the Bloody Grey Cup game in October, and we're starting the league in, I don't know, what does that leave us? Beginning of May? Right? Like, we don't need to be playing tackle football in Canada. The possibility of it being minus 30 out. Makes zero sense. So, I'm on board, Crofty. You can have your say. 936 6262. Okay, Riders just get this one. Did you see this just came down? Riders release offensive lineman Trevor Reed for NFL opportunity. Reed was a Rough Rider nominee for Most Outstanding Rookie in 2024 and made an immediate impact. Started in all 18 regular season ball games as well as the Western semifinal and played an integral part in the Rough Rider offensive success. So they released him for an NFL opportunity. They probably, so if it doesn't work out, they get him back. You would say like that. There's no loophole there where that's how guys get out of it. It's like my Columbia House loophole back in the day, which I can't explain on the radio because I won't be here tomorrow, which is Could be a good thing and a bad thing. Also, Riders sign offensive lineman Brandon Kemp today. If you remember, if you're a Ticat fan, you remember Kemp. He spent the last 3 seasons with the Tiger Cats, suiting up for 12 games at tackle. He's from Atlanta, Georgia, signed with the Tennessee Titans as an undrafted free agent following the 2020 NFL draft. He was on the practice roster there. Kemp signed with the Indianapolis Colts in April of 22, attended a little training camp there before signing with the Ticats in September. So some experience on the offensive line for the Riders. Brandon Kemp is in the fold. We'll see how he does at camp. There was no cheesy pun intended there at all. The Trevor Reed thing, best of luck to him as he explores an NFL opportunity down south. That's great for a rookie, right? He's young.
That's
obviously
probably part of the reason, because he's still young.
Still young and good.
Yeah.
Had a heck of a year.
He's 24, born in 2000.
Aha! Hey, I love it. We have a listener from Dodsland. Hey, I live in Dodsland, and yes, don't come on the 31 from Rosetown. Solid advice. Leave your name. Maybe when we're there, we can have a coffee. And we might need a place to stay, by the sounds of things, when we're coming. I seriously woke up the other night at like 3 a.m. You know when you guys wake up at 3 a.m, you start thinking about stupid stuff, right? And I couldn't get back to bed because I was thinking about, it's almost like, was I dreaming that we scheduled a random Sunday game in Dodsland, Saskatchewan? No, it's real. So then I just kept churning the mind, the brain. Yeah, it's real interesting. So the rider schedule and the CFL schedule is out there. Kellin thinks the teams know. Maybe they got a little bit of a sniff, but I don't know how much they would. Something's weird, and I want it to come out. I want somebody to rat out somebody on who's holding up this mess of a schedule release. There's a lot involved when you start breaking it down. It's too bad Ryan Pollock wasn't here today. He's been in the inner workings of the CFL schedule, and he would be like you're not even thinking about this that they got to schedule and this that they got to. What about good hotels? Some places are hard to come by. If there's another big event on or something, what does that mean? How long do you hold hotels for?
I'm wondering if it's their touchdown series game. If somebody's losing a home game, like the touchdown Pacific,
maybe.
touchdown Atlantic, if someone's losing a home game because of that, or if who was it when we were playing and we were in BC and then had to go to the Atlantic and had to do a cross country. I think it was last year, the season.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So I wonder if that's maybe the situation where it's the quote unquote extreme week where one of the football players or people involved is just like, no, we're not doing that. We always lose a game when that happens. We're not doing that. Right. So that's just my own.
I feel very strongly that the teams know their schedule.
No, and you could be right, possibly right. Benny likes to stir up, you know what, in Winnipeg. We love him when he texts in. He says, Barney, get the math right, fella. Grey Cup, Canadian Thanksgiving would put us at April 5th-ish spring camp. I guess the Roughies and Bombers can see who the real ballers are in spring, cold and snowy. Benny, April 5th. April 5th is way warmer than third week in November. And even if it is cold April 5th, that's a different cold. I don't know what it is. I'm no scientist. Or doctor, unfortunately. It is different. April 5th is okay. April 5th, we're like borderline wearing short pants outside.
It's an exit cold as opposed to an entrance cold.
Exit cold,
right?
Entrance cold.
It used to be very cold, and now it's less cold, so we're excited.
Yeah.
Whereas November is an entrance cold. It's like, oh my God, how is it this cold outside? Why do I still live here? Etc.
And the November cold wind, way different than an April and May wind.
Remember the outdoor game in October back in 2019? That was the coldest I've ever been in my entire life, and it was October.
The hockey game?
Yeah.
It wasn't that cold, was it? It was beautiful.
It was October.
Yeah.
It was about 40 below, I think, for the Pats game on the Sunday.
The Pats game was nuts. sorry, the NHL game the day before was great, and it was like picturesque, like perfect. The snow started coming down, and then someone was saying, yeah, so the Winnipeg Jets are going straight from here to Newport Beach because they start their California swing. And I'm like, what a life.
I had a friend who works there. He does pyro for the riders and stuff during the rider season, and he had to be on the roof for their pyro on the roof. So everyone else was great in the stadium. He was up with the wind and did not have a great time, but still heck of a view for the game.
Changing rink boards at 2 a.m. Very cold.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot of work involved. But the moral of the story on this is if the Sports Cage ever wants to do any kind of pyro at a live event, we got a pyro guy. Colson's got a guy. Okay, I don't know. Does anyone have any insight on the stinking CFL schedule? This is getting weird.
Where's Josh Shaw when we need him? Facilities.
Where is Shaw's?
Facilities at Mosaic Stadium. What do you know, Josh Shaw? You're out there in the Sports Cage. This is the Banana Bandit looking for you.
He's worried about his Minnesota Vikings at the present time going to California, as is one Arash Madani, who we will talk to in hour 3 today. We're switching it up. Arash is going hour 3. Suits is into hour 2. Benny Walchuk allegedly coming in live to do the SJHL report, also in hour 2. In hour 1 here, momentarily, we're going to talk WHL trades. We're going to bring in Dustin Forbes, voice of the Lethbridge Hurricanes, as the Canes make another big deal last night, nabbing Caden Price from the Kelowna Rockets, on the heels of the Medicine Hat Tigers down the road from Lethbridge. If you're geographically challenged, they're really close together in Alberta. The Tigers nabbed Molendyk from the Saskatoon Blades. Everyone was wondering where Tanner Molendyk was going to go. I did not. It surprised me. How about you? Medicine Hat. That move surprised me. So what Saskatoon gets back? Do you have the Price one up there? Let's go to the Molendyk one first. What Saskatoon gets back, first round pick this year. That is huge. So if you're a Western Hockey League general manager, you want a first round pick any year. There's a good chance that, how many teams in the league?
22.
There's 22 excellent ice hockey players out there that are 15 years old that you want one of them and you want to groom it. Then they get a second round pick this year. So the cupboard is starting to fill up. Good move, Colin Priestner. Then they get a third round pick next year. Then they get a fourth round pick next year. Like the sounds of that. And they get a fifth rounder in 2028. A great move by the Blades. I think we were talking with John Keane when John Keane was here or on the program last week. John's an old buddy of mine. Comes on, no questions asked. He said that Molendyk, they were hoping to get 2 first rounders.
Well, Harsani was a first in 22, so it's a 17-year-old first round pick. So I think when I think back to my time with the Pats, and I spent a lot of time with John Paddock, with Dale McMullen, when they talk about this, it's always, there's somewhat an element of where you are. And obviously Saskatoon's very much in their rebuild. Last year was when they went for it, but it depends on what you're trying to time. And so sometimes getting a 17-year-old first round pick is actually better than a 15-year-old first round pick. So
they got 20. Yeah, that's the other part I was going to get. 2007 born Hayden Hersani, 2007 born defenseman Jack Kachowski, and then the 5 draft picks, like I said. So Hersani was a first rounder.
Yeah. He was 16th overall in 22.
That's why this conversation with Dustin Forbes coming up is very interesting. That central, and John called it last week. I said, what about the U.S. division and the BC division? And then he said, Chkai, the central division is where the arms race is. And now even more so. What was the Price deal?
Yeah, and sorry, when you said Medicine Hat, it surprised me. Like, I remember the last time I was on, and obviously it was like just before Agribition, and I was saying, like, the Medicine Hat Tigers are frauds. Like, they were the CHL #1 team coming into the season. They had all the parts. They were talking about how incredible they were going to be. And maybe there's an element here where they're giving their guys the benefit of the doubt, and they've gone in that room and said to, Lindstrom and McKenna and those guys, hey, if you want to go for it, we'll go for it. Let's give her here. So, yeah, they make that move from Molendyke, and then, as you asked, Caden Price goes to Lethbridge for 2 players and 5 picks as well. Defenseman Will Sharp, a 2007-born Harrison Botker. First 4, 4, 5, 6. So they get a first as well. The background on the 2 players that they're acquiring. Sharp was a first-round pick, 11th overall in 2022 as well. So he would be he'd be a 17-year-old first-round pick. And Bottiger is a goalie, American. It's just playing rights. So he's playing in the U.S. National Development Team program. Was in the prospects game that we talked about back in London, playing one of the games. And he was a first-round, 4th overall pick in the U.S. draft. So
huge. We'll talk to Dustin Forbes about that. And then the Regina Pats. Well, got to give a shout-out here. Regina Pats. They're in a hard rebuild, going really young. They traded 2005-born defenseman Alexei Chichkin to the Prince George Cougars for a 2027 4th-rounder. And then they traded Anthony Wilson to the Lethbridge Hurricanes for a 4th-round pick in 2026, a 6th-round pick in 2027, and they acquire Ashton Brown from the Wenatchee Wild for a 2027 pick acquired from the Hurricanes. So a bouncing ball there that you got to... But basically the Pats are kind of letting guys hit the highway that don't want to be here and just aren't going to be part of the rebuild and play the young guys.
Yeah, so the Chichkin deal, I done some research earlier today. So he was acquired at the beginning of the year along with Connor Bear, and they'd given up a 3rd and a 4th when they acquired those 2 guys. So they've essentially recouped the asset, we'll say, 4 in, 4 out on Chichkin. I think in that case, he sort of played some important minutes there. Brad really liked him. Every time I talked to him, I always asked him about Chichkin. The first time I watched him, he sort of looked like a bit of a video game glitch. But Brad really liked him. They
6'5",
played a lot of minutes, sort of just did some things. Wilson came in last year. I think he came from Brandon or came from Victoria. He's been a lot of places, a bit of a suitcase, but sort of that 3rd-line guy, skate with speed, work hard. We'll talk to Forbesy about that because obviously he's headed over to the Hurricanes. And Brown's a young guy, another guy to take a run at, to play some important minutes. And I think that's the most important thing right now for the Pats is they're looking to get minutes for guys and hopefully turn the corner next year to start the climb towards relevance again.
No, and it'll happen. They're doing it right there. It's going to take time and patience. And if you want to go watch exciting young guys play and full of piss and vinegar, as they say, it's getting out to Regina Pats games. Take a quick break. It is the all-new Sports Cage. We are streaming. Thanks to everyone who's subscribed and hammered that like button and subscribe button at sportscage.com. And we are on the home of the Regina Pats, 620 CKRM. Welcome back. The Sports Cage on Tuesday. Saskatchewan Lotteries. Full slate of NHL games tonight. If you're going to go sprinkle away, maybe grab yourself a Sports Select ticket or over on Coolbet. I was looking. Oilers are minus 147 in Boston to take on the Bruins. Philadelphia hosting the Leafs. They're minus 130. The Preds are at the Jets, minus 147 for the Jets. Don't mind that, although the Preds are desperationville right now. Sens in Detroit. Do we got an update on Brady Tkachuk? Anybody didn't hear anything? How he's doing? He went off the ice yesterday, all weird. Then the other games, Dallas Rangers, Carolina, Tampa Bay, Columbus, Pittsburgh, St. Louis, Minnesota. Locally, Melfort's and the Battlefords in the SJHL. Notre Dame is at Kindersley. We are going to get to our extreme hockey WHL report momentarily. The Pats, they're back in Moose Jaw on Friday and then home to Portland on Saturday. Moose Jaw's in Lethbridge tonight. Like I said, Dustin Forbes is going to join us right away. He's got to work this evening. And Saskatoon is at Red Deer, Vancouver's at PG, and Victoria's in Seattle. Need to mention, what was the final? Did we get the final scores at 5-0 Canada in that game? Strikers Oblaki and the U18 Canadian women beat Czechia 5-0.
Confirmed.
Ava Drabic and Aleda Corte from Saskatoon are on the team.
We should have sent Striker to the World Juniors.
Striker would have worked the bumper on the second PP. Yeah.
Good player.
Put her with Tanner Howe, 2 PA hockey players playing there. But like this, you wanted to, okay, what's the one you wanted to mention? There's so many trades actually, Tay, when you go down, other teams, Western Hockey League wise, Moose Jaw and the PA one you wanted to touch on.
Yeah, I just thought it'd be worth noting PA trades for Ralin Kovacevic from Moose Jaw. But they get back in return Grand Coulee native Luke Mraz, as well as the Polish prince Krzysztof Macias, and a 4th-round pick. So obviously there should be a large jolt in ticket sales at the Moose Jaw Event Center, acquiring 2007 born player Luke Mraz, former Regina Pat Canadian, and Grand Coulee Bulldog.
Western Pizza, perfect night. The generous amount of toppings and all that pizza, all the Greek food you love, souvlaki, ribs, salad. Just can't make that at home. Call your local Western Pizza. Let's go out on the Western Pizza guest hotline. Joining us for the first time on the Sports Cage. I think it's his first time. I don't know, first time since I've been around. Dustin Forbes from Lethbridge, Alberta, voice of the Lethbridge Hurricane, Forbesy. I texted you last night and I said, he's probably a busy dude right now. Like, what time did you get to bed? What time did you lay your head down last night?
It was this morning, that's for sure. Yeah, it was a busy night last night and a busy day today. Made another deal this afternoon and getting ready for the game that you mentioned tonight. And it is indeed my first time on the Sports Cage. So I'm no Benny Walchuk, but I'll do my best.
We don't have anything to send you. We have... But once we get some swag, we'll shoot you across. You have Benny Walchuk coming up, SJHL report. Like we had John Keane on last week, and he stopped me in my tracks when I said like that BC US, like it's going to be a bloodbath out there. And he said, wait, the arms race is in the Central. And then now all this comes down yesterday with Medicine Hat getting Molendyk, you guys getting Caden Price. It is getting tough there. Is anyone else going to jump into this? Like, I know Calgary's made the move. They got Howe. Are we expecting anything from Edmonton now, or are they going to kind of do the Homer Simpson back up into the shrubbery?
If I was Kurt Hill in Edmonton, I'm not sure I would ante up anything. They own Seattle and Moose Jaw's picks in this year's draft, their first rounders, and those are both probably going to be lottery picks. So I wouldn't be touching those. And anybody that asks Edmonton in trade conversation is going to start there, I'm sure, in terms of asking for a return. And when you look at what Lethbridge has done, Medicine Hat has done, Calgary's done, you mentioned Calgary, and they've also added Sawyer Mineo, Daniel Hauser before the weekend. So they are all in. Carson Burney in another trade on Saturday. So they're all in. Lethbridge is all in. Medicine Hat is all in. And the crazy thing about it all is only 2 of those 3 teams could make it to the conference final. There's going to be one team that's going to be very disappointed with a second round exit, assuming they make it to the second round. So if I was Edmonton, I would just run the course right now and make the playoffs and take the experience for the young group there and pivot to next season. And then Red Deer's kind of seemingly open for business. They've made a couple of moves with Fabrizi and Barney, so we'll see what Brent Sutter does there. Yeah,
okay. So on the heels of that, do you see Kellin Lynn going anywhere?
Well, I mean, I'm sure he's taking calls. I'm sure that the ask is probably pretty high. So, I mean, I think any general manager wouldn't be doing their due diligence if they weren't taking calls. I think the move of Fabrizi and Barney maybe opens the door there to have the conversation about players on that roster. But I also know, and I've said this on social media, it's not that I cheer for the Red Deer Rebels. I'll preface that, but it's tough to see a team not get to see their full potential because of injuries. And that's kind of been the situation for Red Deer this year. And Kellin Lind is such a good player. The Southwest Saskatchewan kid would be a great ad anywhere, I'm sure, especially when you think about guys that you want to win with in the playoffs.
Forbesy Kellin here. Great to have you on. Long time no see, buddy.
It's been a while.
Yeah. As we look at trades elsewhere, were you somewhat surprised by the Tri-City move today, going out and getting Alec, or do you think this is more of a change of scenery thing for Alec and Jordan Gavin?
Yeah, I think that's a good hockey trade for both teams. And you look at the Western Hockey League now, and it's buy now, sell now, right? It's that buy and then sell mentality to be able to win. I think that's a really good hockey trade for two organizations that get really talented players. Charlie Alec hadn't had a great season in Brandon, so maybe a change of scenery for him into Tri-City, and they've got a really good defense, and Stu Barnes does such a good job as the head coach there. And Jordan Gavin's a really high-end offensive guy, was a former second overall pick in the Western Hockey League prospects draft. So I looked at that as an opportunity, I think, for both of those teams, not only to maybe address needs that they needed to address right now for them to have success this season, but looking ahead to next season for them to be able to take a step, and maybe two players that needed a change for sure.
Okay, let's go back to the Central. And for people that are listening that don't know, a lot about it, maybe they haven't gotten to a game to see any of these teams. Like, break down these teams, what you see in your hockey mind and your eyeballs that you get to watch them a lot. Let's start with your team, Lethbridge. Like, are they built back end up? Are they deep all the way through? Obviously, they make the trade. They got goaltending now. What's going to make Lethbridge tick to win and move over and play the West?
Well, I think and I'm biased, of course, because I broadcast for the team and I work for the team. But when I look at the roster, I just think it's well balanced. You obviously add a really good goaltender who won a championship last year, and Jackson Unger as the kind of forgotten guy in the quote unquote Braden Yager trade. It was also Jackson Unger that was part of that deal too, and everybody seems to forget. And Jackson's been really good since coming over in that trade. So you show me a championship goaltender, I'll show you a team that has a chance to win. The Hurricanes have been one of the better defensive teams this season with their D-core as is, and you add Caden Price. At a cost, you give up a first-round pick and a former first-round pick and a really high-end young defenseman in Will Sharp, but you bring in a guy I would argue is as good offensively as Sharp and maybe a bit further along in his ability to defend at a high level, so you get a bit better defensively. And then you look at the forward group, and you always talk about championship teams and the depth down the middle, and that's what the Hurricanes have right now. You can run Braden Edwards, who's had a terrific overage season, Braden Yager, who we all know who he is, and Jordan Gustafson in a prior deal right after Christmas. Hasn't played a game yet, waiting to come back from injury, but a signed guy that probably would have played pro this season in Vegas if not for an injury. So you get to run those three guys down the middle at your center ice slot, and then Cash Andreessen in your four hole, who's a draft eligible guy on the NHL Central Scouting radar. I like that makeup. And then you've got good wingers around that can complement Leo Breyer, Logan Wormold, who's had a really good season, Miguel Marcus once he gets healthy. So I like the balance that the Hurricanes have. But I mean, you look at the other teams around the Central, and we'll go through it. But it's okay. So yeah,
here's the question: who do you think is a better matchup between Medicine Hat and Calgary for the Hurricanes, if it comes to that at the end for the East?
Well, I mean, that's pick 'em. It's a pick 'em, right? I mean, teams that are going to come out from Saskatchewan and the Wheat Kings are going to come out here, and they're going to do a 3-game swing where they go Calgary, Medicine Hat, Lethbridge, and it's kind of murderer's row now with all the moves that have been done. To pick one of those two teams as your better team, I think the Hurricanes have had more success this season against Medicine Hat. But the home teams won every game of the 5 so far. Lethbridge is 3-2. The Hurricanes struggled against Calgary. They lost the first 3 games in regulation, but earned a victory coming out of the Christmas break. So, but that's the one thing, and you guys know this too, is the teams that were constructed in October and November are no longer even remotely close to the teams that are constructed now. So we'll see what happens when they get to lock heads. The Hurricanes still have, it would be 3 games against Medicine Hat and 4 against Calgary. So
wow.
There's going to be some significant barn burners in the second half, that's for sure.
Forbes, you talked about Murderers Row coming through there. A little bit of return PTSD from 2018 coming through the East Division with Moose Jaw, Swift Current, and Regina that you guys are finally getting to give back out there, I would imagine.
Yes, very similar, in fact. And that's a great point. I was talking with James Gallo, of course, good friend, I'm sure, the show, and voice of the Warriors, who we play tonight. And we kind of referenced that 2018 season when Regina loaded up because they were hosting the Memorial Cup, and Swift Current loaded up because they felt that they were a good enough team to win, and Moose Jaw loaded up because they felt they were a good enough team to win. And of that, 2 of those teams didn't make it to the conference final, so there was some disappointment. Of course, Regina hosted, as you well know, and was out in the first round, but that year very similar to this year in the Central, and 3 teams that fancy themselves as championship caliber teams that are clearly all in.
Yeah, and are you, so when you talk about the Memorial Cup, obviously you guys made the deal yesterday getting Price from Kelowna. You got to expect that they're still sort of going to tinker here a little bit before the deadline as they prepare to be the hosts a year from now. Is there other guys on their lineup that you think could be seen into this arms race that we're seeing in the Central? I have to assume that Bruce probably is trying to get guys east as opposed to staying within his conference.
Well, selfishly, I hope they all get traded in the Western Conference, just because I'm not sure if there's any more places I'd want to see them go in the Central specifically. But you look at their lineup, and there's a couple of pieces that they still have to be able to move. Most notably, I think the first name that comes to mind is Andrew Crystal. He's had such a terrific season, and everybody talks about how good Gavin McKenna has been this season for Medicine Hat, and for good reason. He's an exceptional player, but Andrew Crystal has a better point per game rate this season than Gavin McKenna, which is wild to think. So there's going to be I'm sure there's a long list of teams that are lined up at the door to have conversations with Bruce. And Bruce has done it before, and he's been such a good general manager and owner in the Western League that he has a pulse as to what he needs to do to be able to position his team to be able to get young talent. And I think the Caden Price deal is a great example of, I think a lot of people were looking at Caden Price and Andrew Crystal as being potentially on the market and what those 2 pieces would bring in. And in Caden Price's case, a lot of people circled 2 first-round picks. Well, you get a player in that deal from Lethbridge and Will Sharp, who next year is going to be an 18-year-old who will get drafted this year, and a first-round pick. So I think it's a savvy move from Bruce's standpoint to be able to get both needs of a player that can help you now, a player that'll be a big part of your team next year, and the draft ammunition. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the type of deal that you see Kelowna pull if, and I imagine when, an Andrew Crystal deal gets done too. And furthermore, Stancil, I mean, he's a player that I wouldn't be surprised if they look to potentially move as a guy that, was at the World Juniors and would be a 2-spotter next year as an overage. So he would have some value, but there's only going to be a limited amount of teams that might be in the running for a guy like that.
Well, now that I got your number, Forbesy, you will be utilized like a first liner here on the Sports Cage. And you know what? I was talking to a guy today, and we were joking back and forth, and I said, you watch that East Conference final. Last year we got to watch with Moose Jaw, and then Portland came here. It is such good hockey. It is so exciting. It's springtime. It's nice out. I can't think of a better 4-hour jaunt with the golf courses open to go watch Lethbridge and Medicine Hat play in the Eastern Conference Final. So you never know. Keep your head on a swivel.
Hey,
yeah.
I'm available. Call me, as they once said in the newsroom. I don't know if you guys watched that show, but I'm available. Call me. The idea of a Medicine Hat Lethbridge Conference Final would be incredible. I think it would be so. And here's a fun fact for you guys: the Highway 3 rivalry, as it's dubbed, right, Lethbridge and Medicine Hat, in the 37 seasons. This is the 38th season the Hurricanes have been in the Western League since relocating from Calgary. Lethbridge and Medicine Hat have only played in the playoffs twice in that time. Both went 7 games. Lethbridge was victorious in both. So,
yeah, there we go. Little tidbit for us there. Thanks so much, Forbesy. Have a good call tonight. Moose Jaw in town. Looking forward to seeing how things shake out. And of course, like I said, we'll have you back on.
Thanks, gentlemen. Say hi to my friend Benny for me.
We will. That is voice of the Lethbridge Hurricanes. Who just made another massive deal yesterday, getting Caden Price, Dustin Forbes from Lethbridge, Saskatchewan. Let's take a quick break. Lethbridge, Alberta. Medicine Hat Lethbridge final. That excites me more than a Calgary anybody final. I want to see those two teams. And what he said, like it hasn't happened that often. The Highway 3, couldn't remember what the highway was.
Yeah, it's funny because, I mean, nobody really loves the NHL markets in our league. The Calgary and Edmontons, they get enough of it. But yeah, I mean, I think you have Pete Anholt and Willie Desjardins, like two of the classics of the Western League, going at it. So yeah, I'm pulling. I'm pulling for those guys.
Mustache versus no mustache. You never know who's going to win. It is the all-new Sports Cage. We're streaming at sportscage.com. Lots of Dustin Forbes talk there. It was the WHL report for extreme hockey in Regina. The Yeti sale continues. You need anything Yeti. You've never seen their selection of Yeti? Unreal. Also, the CCM Vision Stick could be arriving any day now. And the goalie sale continues. If you got a puck stopper in your family. Back to the rider schedule. People are hitting the text line 936-6262. Yes, we all know that the season should possibly move up, and we should have a Grey Cup sometime in October. But yeah, no schedule release. It was rumored to be coming down today. Not so much. We have no idea why. The other rumor that we heard, or I heard, I'm not going to throw you guys under the bus, I'll take this one, was one team was kind of kicking and screaming on the last revision. I don't know who that is, and hopefully we do find out. Rat them out. Throw them out. Also news from Ryder Camp. Offensive lineman Trevor Reed has been released to pursue an NFL opportunity. Played in 18 games last year in the West semifinal. He was the Rough Riders nominee for most outstanding rookie in 2024. And the Riders also made a signing. There it is. Offensive lineman Brandon Kemp from the Hamilton Tiger Cats. He's on board. Spent the last 3 seasons with the Tabbies in Hamilton. So a couple moves there. Still no CFL schedule. Glen Suitor, we're moving him up. He's after news here at 4 o'clock. We got to call him, by the way, because he was at the dentist and half of his face is frozen. So he wants to come on the phone. I'm serious. True story. Glen's going to be as perplexed as us as to why no CFL schedule as we go another day not knowing who, when, or what. It is the Sports Cage. We're streaming on YouTube and at sportscage.com and on the home of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, 620 CKRM. Welcome back. It is Tuesday, Sports Cage. It's Barney, Shynkaruk, Kellin, Enslev, along with Allen and Colson. You guys got clutch performers coming up for later after Suits around 4:30. Hockey-wise tonight, SJHL report coming up in about 40 minutes' time with Benny Walchuk. Melfort in the Battlefords this evening, as well as Notre Dame traveling into Kindersley. And Kindersley can't have a lot of home games left. They're getting ready for curling. We talked about that yesterday on the show. Western Hockey League tonight. You heard the Extreme Hockey Western Hockey League report with Dustin Forbes as he's getting ready to call the Lethbridge Hurricanes welcoming Moose Jaw You think Caden Price will be in the lineup for that? He'd be able to get to Lethbridge today. Fly from Kelowna, Calgary, Leth, kicked into the fire. For sure, I would think he's in the lineup. Maybe they give him the night off. He's done a lot of traveling. He was with the World Juniors. But anyway, Caden Price and the Lethbridge Hurricanes and Braden Yeager are hosting the Moose Jaw Warriors. Red Deer welcomes the Saskatoon Blades, who are now officially rebuilding as well. And then out in British Columbia, Prince George plays host to Vancouver. Victoria's in Seattle in the U.S. 5-0. It was Canada over Czechia at the Women's U18 Worlds today. They continue to roll. If you're betting on Canada facing the United States in the final there, that is a safe bet when it comes to women's hockey. Although you always like to see that one little upset maybe in the women's. Who can? What was that number 5? Did we ever get her name? Number 5 from Czechia? She was massive on the back end. And then they kept trying to set her up for a one-timer. Lay into it. She had to have been 6'3"-ish, and I bet you had 230. And a lot of the females for Canada are whipping around. I thought there at one point she was trying to reverse hit one of the Canadian girls. It wasn't, though. I think she was just off balance. And I was like, oh, that doesn't win. That's like a semi running into a Honda Civic with a loud muffler. No games in Junior B League tonight. NHL littered with Canadian action. The Oilers are minus 147, the gambling front. In Boston, Philly welcomes the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Jets play host to the Preds. And the Sens are in Detroit. Did anyone get an update on Kachuk? I know I asked that before, and I know I'm able to look it up, but I just forgot about it. Because it didn't look good yesterday when he skated off the ice in practice. That'd be devastating for the Sens, also devastating for the Americans at the Four Nations Cup. So I think he'll be an integral part. Rider news, they released offensive lineman Trevor Reed for an NFL opportunity. And also the Riders signed offensive lineman Brandon Kemp from the Hamilton Tiger Cats. 3 years with the Tiger Cats. He is now with the Riders. We're good to go? Let's talk CFL with our friend Glen Suitor, who is freshly back from the dentist. Dr. Watley took care of you today. Glenn, you didn't want to go on the stream. Do you got the half face numb thing going on?
I got a bit of the numb thing going on. So let's just put a picture up. Not that much better, really, but no, I saw that John Voight had bit my pencil. So I was heading in to make sure that they matched up. No, I had to get a little work done this morning, and I thought it'd be best. But it sounds like the voice is normal, so we can chat.
Yeah, there's nothing. You know what? It sucks going to the dentist for sure, and when you have to get that much freezing done, and then when it starts to come out and that tingly feeling is all weird, and then it's really itchy, and it's like, damn it, won't go away. That's enough dentist talk. We're still looking for a dentist sponsor on the program. Anyway, I got to tell you, Glenn, I am super confused as to why in the heck we don't have a CFL schedule yet.
Yeah, I am too. Other than the thought that the staff is probably unsure of their future, and all the staff that would be working at the league office level in building the schedule have a lot on their mind, I'm sure. Who's going to be the new commissioner? When does that happen? Would they have jobs after that? Do they look for people to advance within the league office? Would a guy like Greg Dick, who's the head of football ops, would he be considered for the new commissioner role? And if that's the case, how much time is he spending, or can he even spend putting the schedule together? All of that sounds like a bit of an excuse for the league office, because as we said last week, this schedule should have been out before Christmas.
Yeah, and we were talking about it in hour one. Like, a lot of things hinge on when these games are going to get played, and in different cities and stadiums and staffing and airplane charters, and the list goes on and on and on. Like, I wonder if I think we'll find out at some point. Something will be leaked on who the difficult party was in getting this done this year, Glenn.
Well, I know that there's been some that have sort of speculated that maybe TSN has a major role in this delay.
Oh, you TSN guys!
Yeah, I've had a conversation with a senior producer at TSN about this. I gave him a call yesterday, try and figure out if there's anything that we're doing, and he suggested that wouldn't be a factor, even if some people have said that TSN might be up for sale. Is that what's holding this off? And none of those rumors, as far as I've heard, have any truth to them at all. So let's just bury all of that. But the fact that TSN has requests is certainly, that's factual. But the thought that they could stop the production of the schedule and hold it off is just not realistic. The league is its own entity, and they can build the schedule at their pace. And we all think and believe it should have been before Christmas, of course. Because there's a selling opportunity there, and they've missed that window. So that's disappointing. Again, I think this changeover in commissioner has a lot to do with it. But let me squash any rumors about TSN being for sale or TSN having a major impact on the delay of the schedule coming out. It just doesn't work that way.
I just came out, news release, Glenn. TSN has just been sold to Telemundo, American Spanish language television network.
Si, senor.
Hey, you get to go to San Juan, Puerto Rico. That's where their head office, that's where it was founded. Anyway, Riders release offensive lineman today, Trevor Reed, for an NFL opportunity. Commonplace, happy for the kid. Maybe just explain to people how this works when a team will release a player, especially a young guy like that, for an NFL opportunity.
Yeah, well, every contract has this caveat to it, basically. So if any player, no matter what your contract says, has an opportunity, a real opportunity to sign a contract in the NFL and give that a chance, that they will be released from their deal. And the player, depending on the length of the term of the contract, the player is kind of bound by the team that let him go to start negotiations there or discussions there when they return, if they do. But no one in the league or in the CFL, any one of these teams or the league office for that matter, would want to hold back a player from making life-changing money. I mean, he's essentially doing the same thing, especially a guy like Trevor Reed. I mean, he's going to be doing the exact same thing down there that he does up here, but he's going to, if he makes it, make life-changing money. And that's, no one wants to hold any player back from that. However, when and if he gets through the, let's say, the grind of and frustration of a NFL contract, and in my time in this business, Barney, I just have seen it so often. And Nathan Rourke was a great example. You saw him in the preseason when he first went down. He was outstanding, probably the best, young quarterback, signed quarterback that year, rookie, in the preseason, and it didn't matter. He didn't get any reps in practice. He moved around from different teams, never really got any reps or a real opportunity, and he ended up coming back. It doesn't mean he can't play down there. It just means that there are politics involved that don't give you the opportunity that you need to show what you can really do. So I hope that Trevor gets that opportunity down south and he gets a real look. He's a great young player, rookie nominee, 24 years old, which is why this is it's a tough one, but we all hope that he makes it and makes big money for his family. And, maybe one day he returns. And if he does return, one of the major factors there, Barney, is how the team has built their culture, how the team and the organization has taken care of their players and their players' families. And, I think even if he was a free agent when it was time to return, if he does return, that he would pick the Riders because of what Corey Mace is doing, what they built last year, and that's why it's so important when you talk culture and how you treat the players throughout the season. Those are the times when it comes through free agency, and when this happens and player goes down south and possibly will return.
On the other positive side, and it's a chance for maybe people out there that are always complaining about Jeremy O'Day and Craig Reynolds and what are they doing? Well, no, they're always working, and it's always positive when you can get an experienced offensive lineman, as we saw last year. Your offensive line depth pool can't be too deep. They go out and get Brandon Kemp today, a guy that's played 3 seasons with the Tiger Cats. That's a solid pickup on the O-line for the Riders.
Yeah, and if you look through their O-line, I mean, Logan Ferlin was the best O-lineman on the team last year. They lost Jamarcus Hardrick early. They lost Peter Godber for a big part of the season. I mean, those are all-star caliber players. And, so every team, the Lions just made a deal with Toronto to get Dejon Allen and, another starter offensive lineman. And these are guys that you want to build your foundation around. O&D line are where it starts. And that's what these teams are trying to do prior to free agency and prior to the draft. So they know exactly what they have going into the draft and if they need to, go heavy on O-linemen in the draft or whatever. So, this is a big signing to get more depth and more competition on the O-line. And keeping in mind that last year they had an all-star caliber group on paper, and they started, I believe they started 12 different offensive linemen and dressed 13 in a season. So that tells you how hard they were hit in the injury department there.
Yeah, no, it's a solid move. Okay, I know today was dentist day for you, so we'll let you go a little bit early. We'll regroup and do this again on Thursday. And please, by Thursday, CFL, come out with a schedule. Do not listen to those guys at TSN. Just come out with the schedule. That's all we want. That's all we want.
Sounds good, Barney, and I'll make sure. I'm really glad that no one could see my drool today. So that was good.
Hey, no, that's exciting. And hopefully you got to cruise in John Voight's LeBaron today.
Sounds good, buddy.
See ya, Glenn. It's Glen Suitor joining us on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. Go pick up a pie tonight. The Deuce would be perfect. Offensive lineman, always solid for the Riders on a day of a plethora of WHL trades and hockey trades. The Riders are making some news as well, picking up that, and then Trevor Reed getting an NFL opportunity, so having to release him. Don't forget, NFL football lives at the Canadian Brewhouse. Playoffs coming up this weekend. Visit thecanadianbrewhouse.com. Find out what the specials are. You got 2 locations in Regina and 1 in Moose Jaw. Unbelievable menu. Like I said, it's all online at thecanadianbrewhouse.com. Quick break. We are the Sports Cage. We're streaming SportsCage.com and on the home of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, 620 CKRM. Clutch performer time on the Sports Cage for Nick Service in Emerald Park, your local Massey Ferguson, Challenger, Rogator, Gleaner, and Fent dealer. You call 781-1077. Talk to the fine folks from Nick Service in Emerald Park. I'm going to Team Canada at the Under-18 Women's World Championship. And Saskatchewan's own, from Prince Albert, played with the Regina Rebels up until this year. And she went to Bishop Kearney in New York. Striker Zablocki, 2 goals for Canada today in their 5-0 win over Czechia. Canada is atop the standings. in their pool, and they will take on, playoffs are set, Japan in the quarterfinals. So Canada, the ever-popular Canada-Japan rivalry will be cooking on, what day is it? It doesn't give me the day on when it is. The United States will play Slovakia. They're on a collision course to play again. Alan, you wanted to say your clutch performer was Glen Suitor for showing up.
Oh, yeah, definitely, because he came through in the clutch.
That is...
The dentist, so I thought,
yeah,
it fits the motto.
So Glenn and Stryker are our clutch performers today for Nick's Service in Emerald Park, your local Massey Ferguson, Challenger, Rogator, Gleaner, and Fent dealer. One thing we didn't mention, we got to give a score from last night, senior hockey-wise. It was Watrous with the upset over Leroy. If you're on Cool Bet and you hit Leroy on that one, congrats. That would have paid all right. Leroy over Watrous. Don't forget, you can text in the word Dangler, DANGLER, to 936-6262. You nominate the Senior Hockey Dangler of the Week. Doesn't even need to be a player. Could be the manager, the coach, the athletic therapist. Not that senior teams have those guys. The Zamboni driver, anybody that does yeoman's work out there in the senior loop. Text it in 936-6262. You got a chance to win a $100 Canadian Brewhouse gift card. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, it is our SJHL report. Benny Walchuk is going to be live in studio. So get that streaming numbers up. Get the streaming numbers up, SportsCage.com. And we are on 620 CKRM. Yeah, and the deals out there, as the kids say, are sick right now. 2024, remaining 2024 is $25,000 off. Whew. Save up to $19,000 on 2024 heavy duties. Plus 2024 Jeep Compasses starting at just $34,945. Crazy deals. As the kids say, the deals are slapping out at Southie Mainline Chrysler. Worth the drive every time. 30 minutes north of Regina, the new king of trucks up there. Benny Walchuk in studio, Sports Cage studio in town. Did you have to make a Costco run, or what are you doing in town?
I had the dentist too. So
did you?
Yeah, but it wasn't as bad as sounds like Glen's was. But yeah, quick dentist trip and visit the girlfriend. Get some brownie points up.
No dentists out there in Melville, Yorkton area?
Yeah, but just I got some.
Tough to get in?
Tough to get in, yeah.
Tough to get in.
Yeah, especially on Christmas Day today here, Orthodox Christmas. So.
Yeah, Ukrainian Christmas Day, you brought that up. It's kind of not being celebrated as much anymore, but it used to be a big deal. Do you ever celebrate pretty heavy?
We did, yeah. And we actually had a little bit of a little one last night for Christmas Eve. So I had some salmon patties and had the shrimp and the meatless dinner last night with pierogies. So.
How about the kutia, the wheat?
Yeah, kutia with a little bit of honey and poppy seed in it.
I used to love that as a kid. And then I don't know where my taste buds went south. And then now when we have it, usually on traditional Christmas, that Mom will make the kutia, and I'm not a fan. And hey, I used to eat studenettes too. Yep. That was absolutely weird. SJHL power rankings first. You can go to sportscage.com. If you don't always check out the power rankings. No surprise, Melfort's still there.
Yeah, 2 big wins over Malville on the weekend. And give credit to the Millionaires. I know they lost Caden Jury, of course, before Christmas to Brooks. And then their leading scorer, Ryan Rothke, decided not to come back after the Christmas break. So he's playing in the NCDC, which is a little bit slightly lower league, a little bit closer to home for him. So they had trouble scoring. I know 0-0 game until after 2 periods in their first game, and then lost 3-0, gave up a couple power play goals. And a pretty good outing on Saturday night back in Melville. And they had 2 short-ended breakaways that they had a chance to tie things up, were unsuccessful in doing so. So it's a little bit snake bitten for the Millionaires, but full credit to the Melfort Mustangs, I think winners of 17 in a row now. I'm not sure what the modern streak is. I think leading back in the 1980s, I think it was 40 in a row when Prince Albert had those great teams led by Terry Simpson. So still a long ways to go for the Mustangs, but pretty good run there for Trevor Blevins' bunch so far. Yeah,
they are doing something special there. It's funny because I talked about Notre Dame in Kindersley tonight. I was in Kindersley on Saturday for the Regina Pat Blues game, and then talking curling yesterday. That city's going to be overrun here right away, and they are doing it out of the West Central Event Center. So Kindersley, another home game tonight against Notre Dame in the Nutrien division. Melfort is in the Battlefords. Would that be kind of a worth the drive game, or maybe early week?
Early week one, yeah. We got some on the weekend I'd like to touch on, but Battleford playing some pretty good hockey as well. We talked about Marty Smith having the boys going there, so he's usually ready for senior hockey right now. This is not the right time. He's usually getting ready for the EDAM 3 stars, getting ready for their playoff run year, but he's back behind the bench now, and he's doing a good job there in Battlefords.
Yeah, the senior hockey provincials get released Thursday evening, so we'll be talking about that Friday afternoon here as well. Players wise in the league, players of the week, or who do you want to touch on there?
Yeah, Keenan Ingram, of course, a guy that's it's kind of been around the junior ranks. He was in Weyburn, he was in Kindersley, up in Fort McMurray, but he found a home now with Yorkton, and he had a big week. He had a 4-goal game on Friday against Estevan in their 7-3 win, and then he had a couple more goals against the Malvern Millionaires. He had 6 goals, I think, in the 4 games. So he's up to 21 goals in the season, second ranked in the points total, top ranked in the goals total, right around with Jacob Stritzy of the Humboldt Broncos. So it's a guy that's a big body. He shoots like a pro hockey player. He's got a heck of a snapshot, and him and his line mates, Dustin Renus, alongside of Carter Briltz, a Regina product. They've been very, very good for the Yorkton Terriers. So he's been good. Dustin Renus, we talked about him, former Lethbridge Hurricane, and one-time Prince Albert Raider. He's been good for the Terriers. So they had maybe a little bit upper hand on the players of the week because they played 4 games and some teams only play 1 or 2 games. So it's probably an easy one for them, but still hats off to those guys. I know they suffered a loss on Sunday, but playing some good hockey of the Terriers.
What did you hear about, and we talked about it a couple weeks ago, and then going into Christmas, and how the city and town of Assiniboia just really stepped up in helping the Weyburn Red Wings. They're back now. Things look back to normal in Weyburn. What did you hear about that whole story, and just how tough that would have been for the organization?
It was, like we said, to give hats off to Assiniboia. I actually selfishly would have wished they would have played that last game in Assiniboia on that Thursday instead of coming back to Weyburn, but I know everybody's ready to get back home and playing for their home crowd, and there's logistics with 50-50 and everything with the Weyburn barn, but hats off to Assiniboia. But it was tough, definitely getting logistic-wise behind the scenes, and the players, though, were welcome with open arms there. Some of the Billet families didn't want them to leave in Assiniboia. They fit into their families for a week and a half or 10 days, whatever they were in Assiniboia. But they played some good hockey. Of course, they had a big trade earlier this week. They traded Daza Mitchell, of course, a Regina product. He was a 2-time goalie of the year finalist, and they traded him to Humboldt for Josh Sale and another goaltender, Ty Manananovich. So it was a big deal for him. But it's now Angelo Zoll's team. Angelo had a great week. He was the goalie of the week in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. So they kind of basically said, it's your time to shine here, Angelo. And also they free up a 20-year-old spot, maybe possibly for defensive addition or up front as the trade deadline approaches on Friday.
So the deadline is Friday, right? Because the WHL is going Thursday, I think 6 o'clock or 6:30 our time. And then the SJ, that's giving the SJ teams, is that new this year to kind of give that day?
I think it is, yeah. I think WHL moved back a little bit just to have the Friday open, have the 9th Thursday, and have chance for some players to travel, maybe play on that Friday. So it's always been different times for the SJHL. Sometimes it's been 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, but it's 5 o'clock on Friday to have your trades finalized, and then you have a chance to finalize your roster, your 25-man roster. You have your room with free agents till February 12th, or February 15th, that is. So it's an exciting time for teams to add. I know it's kind of a nervy time for some players, especially if you're on that brink of if we're going for it or we are standing back and rebuilding. So it's always a tense time for junior hockeys and billet families as well.
What have you heard? Have you been in the Ituna, the new rink in Ituna?
I haven't heard, but I've heard really good vibes of it. They've done a good job there. The lobby is pretty nice. It's a little chilly, they said, and I know a lot of guys, or a couple of guys on that Ituna Avalanche team. And
was it last week when it was like minus 30?
Yeah. So, yeah, I think they have their grand opening here this weekend. If they don't quote me on that, but I think it's grand opening here this weekend. But it's great. We could say before, a great community there in Ituna, and the Avalanche are playing some pretty good hockey. They had a good game against Cupar, who has a good team in that Prairie Men's Hockey League. So it's they got Justin Hollinger. Of course, Justin played with the Grenfell Spitfires for a number of years, and a few more local guys. So it's a great time if you have a chance to go out there, Ituna, as well.
Coming up January 14th to 19th, Hockey Day in Saskatchewan. Kenora is hosting. like that? Is that starting to get a buzz? Starting big news out there?
It is. I was actually in Kenora last weekend. I watched the Swan Valley Axemen and the Kenora Cobras. Good game there, 2-1 for the Cobras in that one. And just the vibe around the community, it was packed in there. Kenora is a great hockey town. And
Really?
they pack. Yeah, it's every senior game that they pack there at the Kenora Civic Center. And I actually talked to Stacey Vangen, who is the Kenora Minor Hockey president, earlier today for an interview, and she's excited. She says it's a tense moments right now, kind of the final minute things to get some, but once she gets next week, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, once the week kind of starts, I'm sure she can relax a little bit more. But it's an exciting day. I know I've been a part of it in Belcaris about 6 years ago in 2018, and I have a chance to be broadcasting other hockey day in Saskatchewan. It's great for those communities. They have a chance to raise a lot of money, and of course, we got Yorkton Terriers playing Notre Dame there on Saturday. They got the Regina Pack Canadians playing the Yorkton Maulers, so a chance for some person to see Maddox Schultz play live there in Kenora. So it's an exciting time, and of course there's gonna be a battle of the blades, figure skating with some hockey players and figure skaters going at it with some figure skating. So it's a great time for the town, and hey, they're making some pierogies there for sure right now. I think they started a month ago for some pierogies, so I'm sure that the gala dinner with Marty McSorley and Dan Chesney is going to be full of pierogies and cabbage rolls.
That is Friday, January 17th. You can find out all the info, Hockey Day in Sask in Kenora. When I messaged, I think there was just over 100 tickets left for the banquet on Friday night. Like you said, Marty McSorley, Don Chesney, Brandon and I get to MC and host that, and host the round table, the hot stove. And so Brandon's like, I'm like, well, are we gonna prep some questions here? And he's like, Ches is like, jukebox, put the quarter in, and let him go. And then Marty, right? Like, that's gonna be so much fun.
I got Ches coming with me to Dauphin on Tuesday for a road trip because he scouts for the Dauphin Kings. So I'm gonna get him primed, tuned up to go for Friday. And actually, Stacey said there's some great prizes. I think there's a Connor Bedard signed jersey, and there's actually a fishing trip with Marty McSorley on the 20th, I think. So that's one of the bigger prizes there for the gala. So some great prizes on hand there for that gala dinner.
That is next Friday, the 17th in Kenora. Come join us. I'm excited especially when you say pierogies are going to be flowing. $75 for a banquet ticket, Hockey Day in Sask. Benny, thanks so much for coming into studio today.
Fun. Maybe I should do this more often. A little worth the trip, but
it's nice in here, eh?
It is nice.
It's cozy.
Very nice. Very nice.
They got a log cabin in here. That is the SJHL report for Southie Mainline Chrysler, the new king of trucks in Southie, Saskatchewan. Worth the drive every time, guaranteed. Time for a break. You're watching the Sports Cage. We're streaming at sportscage.com. Yeah, we had a big day planned today. Fellas and I were CFL schedule released. We were going to talk about it, the good, the bad, all that, and didn't come down again. If anybody has any info on that, that is really odd. Sounds like it's one team that's holding things up. Kellin said, Kellin Enslev's with me today. He thinks that the teams have the schedule. There's some minor tweaks. Like, we are into the 7th of January. Last year, it was the 14th of December that it was released. The year before, it was the 13th, pre-Christmas, because it just makes sense. And this year, we got a hold up, and we don't know what it is. A number of you have been chiming in on the text line, 936-6262, saying, where is it? And what do you like as Rider fans? Is it the Saturday games? Is it the Saturday evening games? Is it the Sunday afternoon games? Is it the Friday night games? Like I said yesterday, Thursday would be down on that list, I would think, in Saskatchewan. Jokingly, but not so much unless you live walking distance to the stadium, then you're in good shape on a Thursday night. But other than that, you kind of want the weekends around here. And we don't know what the holdup is. It's just making a schedule is difficult. Doesn't matter what it's for. And then Kellin chimed in on how he's had to rejig hockey schedules and tournament schedules and soccer and hockey and probably work schedules as well. It's a nightmare. And then you're factoring in, like I said, you're factoring in a lot of travel. You're factoring in a lot of building availabilities and staff and supplies and all that.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing you brought up earlier, and I was sort of noodling on it at the time, was like you said, the travel part with the fact that the teams take charters everywhere. But I almost wonder if the CFL has some sort of agreement, whether it be with Air Canada or with WestJet, in terms of just the number of charters they need for the year, and it's sort of just a commitment that there will be a charter on this day and on this day and on this day, but they just haven't communicated where they're going, what airport to airport they're going to. But the hotel one is a very interesting one, short of just having blocks every week of the season in every city in Canada. But that's just where I lean back to the fact that I feel like the teams know most, if not all, of their schedule, and it's something very minor they're trying to work out here.
That's where your point makes a ton of sense, because the logistical nightmare that would be if we were kind of starting from zero again, or at one point, is probably just a minor tweak where something needs to happen. And then, like I said in hour one, like just scheduling around the teams in the league is like it'd be like trying to schedule if you go on a holiday or a trip with more than 2 people or 3, even like 4. It's like, hey, we've got 4 guys, we're going golfing. Even that turns into an absolute gong show, because everyone wants to do their own thing. Guy gets missing, guy goes missing, guy gets too banged up, doesn't show up. Now everything's gone. Now we got to take an Uber to go get him, or he forgets something there. It's just like, and people, my wife thinks I'm weird. I don't mind traveling by myself. If it's like to something like event-wise, what am I going to see? I don't have to worry about anybody. Traveling with her is easy. Traveling with one buddy, traveling with 2, and then it's the scheduling of everything. It's like, oh, we got to go to this supper at this time. We got to go to this. It's just like an all-inclusive. No one wants to eat at 5:30. If you eat at 8 all the clock, and if you eat at 8 all the time, or if you eat at 5:30, you don't want to eat at 8. I'm going to bed.
Yeah, I'm having PTSD of a golf trip we do every year. Yeah. And last year I was still with Saskatchewan Soccer, and we were running provincials in Saskatoon, and we were going up north, and I was like, why? We always go Father's Day, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday to Candle Lake. And I was like, why do we have to tee off on Sunday, on Father's Day at 1 o'clock in the afternoon to play our one round and be done at 5? Can we just play at like 3:30 or 4 o'clock? It's going to be really good for me personally because of my job, but it's for everybody. Everybody doesn't need to get up and be on the road like before 7 o'clock. They can actually maybe see their children. And I moved the tee times. And the guy who historically has booked the tee times, you would have thought that I stole from him, how upset he was. And he was like, why don't you just do it all? Why don't you just do it all? You order the food. I don't care. He was
hands up guy.
He was so worked up. And I was like, it's 2 hours, man. But it was game changing. And in the end, there was so much rain and it was so cold that the golf course was closed, and we ended up playing in PA anyways.
There's always throw up hands guy. Maybe that's even happening with the CFL. Somebody's crying about something and all this, and then they're just like, no, then you just do it. Whatever, it'd be your way. That's the other thing. Don't let us do it your way. We'll just do it.
Rosie gets to do that because it's like, this ain't my problem anymore.
Yeah,
I'll figure it out.
Wash my hands clean of it. But then it's a real tricky one, because you also run into, it's like, yeah, whatever, then you just do it. Okay, see you later. Smell you later. Yeah. So nothing on the CFL schedule front, which is unfortunate. There is some Rider news. They release offensive lineman Trevor Reed. Don't panic. We know he was good. He was nominated for Most Outstanding Rookie in 2024. Released him for an NFL opportunity. So congrats. Hopefully things work out for him down there. And if not, you think, like we're talking to Glen Suitor, he'll be back because the culture is great in Sasky and what we're building here. Other news, the Riders signed an offensive lineman by the name of Brandon Kemp, 3 years with the Hamilton Tiger Cats from Atlanta, Georgia. He signed with the Tennessee Titans following the 2020 draft. Also had a cup of coffee on the practice roster with Indianapolis. He went to the training camp, and then he went to the Tiger Cats. So another body on the offensive line with Brandon Kemp. Went out on the text line here. John, the Habs fan. How's it going, John? Shout out. Your team is rolling, by the way. Sneaky. They're sneaky in a playoff position right now. That'd be really, really cool to see. He says, why don't we talk NHL rookies and race for the Calder trophy? Besides Macklin Celebrini and Dustin Wolf, I don't know who else. I guess Logan Stankoven is considered a rookie. I'm looking at odds right now.
He'd be pulling for Lane Hudson from the Habs, I would suspect.
Plus, best odds you're getting on Lane Hudson, John, plus 700 to win Rookie of the Year. Dustin Wolf, plus 8,000. Macklin Celebrini's minus 185. Michkov from Philadelphia, plus 230, best you can get. I watched Celebrini play for the first time on TV. When was this? Last week? And I was like, there's nothing. There's no other. Basically, there's no other games on. I'll watch the Sharks and whoever it was. Yeah, he does not seem 18 years old.
No, he's had a very good year, and he also has some personality as well, which is nice. He sort of shows a little bit of personality. Same can't be said maybe for the first round pick the year before, who was a little bit more business first, but
yeah, and not having a great sophomore campaign in Chicago. Left off the Four Nations.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily a surprise. Maybe it is, but it's going to be interesting. I'm a loyal listener of two podcasts. One I have to listen to your voice, and the other one is 32 Thoughts.
Yeah.
And they've been talking a fair amount lately about the mess that is the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at you. Sorry. Nice.
And now you got the mic right.
Not used to being a camera guy.
You're watching the stream. Okay. They're talking about the mess that is the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah. And the fact that, if JT Miller was to be moved, could he be moved to the Chicago Blackhawks?
Ooh.
Could that be the player that could ride shotgun with Connor Bedard to give him sort of the offensive punch that he's looking for? So that's, an interesting point with Bedard, but I just think it's hard. I mean, as a 18-year-old kid, very few have played in best-on-best competition. Hopefully, the success of the Four Nations is such that we get continued best-on-best in years upcoming.
After the Olympics? You mean? Yeah, do it every year.
Yeah, or even anything. I mean, there are, has Connor McDavid even played in a best-on-best competition at all?
Not at the pros level.
Yeah, right? So, to that end, right, like he's 8-9 years older. So,
yeah.
It would be nice. Speaking of best-on-best, I was reading while you were chatting with Benny Walchuk, but the World Junior next year, based on the results of this year, in one pool is going to be the U.S., Sweden, and Canada.
Oof.
And then somebody threw out, if Russia could play again, do they take Germany's spot? And then they would be in that pool as well. Not that they're miraculously returning next year, but if by then Canada's the 51st state in the U.S., then maybe the Russians are allowed back in.
I'm curious as to when things are finished. Hopefully, yeah. I don't want to get into the political side of it. And Russia is able to kind of come back. Will it be for the Olympics? Putin's ego and being able to send all of his athletes there, because that's the one thing that we've kind of forgot about over the last couple of years is that the Russians aren't around. And we did that mock team for the Four Nations Cup. Mind you, we put a goalie on the fourth line, which is actually quite funny. And it was stacked on paper. Like, what does paper mean? John, the Habs fan, called in. Okay. bring him on. John, the Habs fan. How the heck's it going?
Not bad, Barney. How you doing?
Not bad. Getting by. What, do you like your Lane Hudson there as the Rookie of the Year?
I do. You know what, Barney? He's doing something that hasn't been done for the Habs since Chris Chelios. He beat Chris Chelios' record. He's the fastest defenseman to 30 points. He did in 5 less games than what Chelios did. He's on pace for 60 points in the NHL. That's more than what Brock Faber had last year when he lost to Connor Bedard.
Do you think, though, that it's tough being a defenseman and getting those votes?
I tell you, as long as Patrick Laine is on that team and doing what he's doing, and Hudson's feeding him, he's going to win that. And ever since Laine's been there, they've been over a point a game. You know, and I'm not going to say they're going to make the playoffs this year, but they're in that mix. But it bodes well for their future with Hudson, and then they got Demidov, the Russian kid, coming next year, and he's what Kaprizov is in Minnesota.
It'd be exciting if they somehow squeak in. But yeah, they got a good young team in Montreal from what I know about them. And this when you look up this Hudson, like you forget, like he's a decorated American player, and then he spends the 1 year at Boston U, Detroit at the Brick Invitational. Ripper would know him as well. No, solid team. So you don't think that they'll find a way to sneak in? I guess it's tough to say.
Well, they might. It'll all depend on Allmark in Ottawa. He's week to week, and ever since he went down, the Senators have just been blowing, and they have been terrible. And Allmark, before that, was on fire. He looked like the best goalie in the league, but without him, Ottawa doesn't have a good chance, and I like Montreal's chance. And we got another player that nobody's talking about, and he's a very good kid too, and that's Amo Heineman.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big 6'3" winger. He's going to be a power forward going forward. I expect him to score 30 goals 1 year.
Whoa, 30. John, thanks so much for the call. And I'm actually,
thanks, Barney.
Now that you bring it up, I'm actually going to watch Lane Hudson a little closer with the Montreal Canadiens. Might have to sprinkle on them. They're not in action tonight in the National Hockey League. Canadian teams that are in action, the Oilers are in Boston starting here in a bit. The Leafs in Philly. The Jets welcome the Nashville Predators as they continue their long road trip. And the Senators are in Detroit. Take on the Wings. If your playoff draft started today, I would be. We did this last year, and you played your cards close to your chest vest region. Dallas. I know Eric Francis and I were heavy on Dallas last year. After watching Colorado play last night, a little bit, man, do they snap it around and are they dangerous? If they can get some guys back,
or keep guys in their lineup once the playoffs start.
Yeah. Not as well.
Not be sprinkling or doing drugs or whatever they're getting into. But how about my Vegas Golden Knights? Just night after night.
Favorites, for sure.
Just steady Eddies, just, score goals.
Let's go.
I won't pick them in a playoff draft because that's my team, but
cool bet.
That's why I always bet on Colorado.
Stanley Cup winner, cool bet right now. The Golden Knights are plus 1,500. Well, I know what I'm doing as we go to news here. It is the all-new Sports Cage After News. Arash Madani going to be joining us. We're streaming at sportscage.com and on the mighty 620 CKR app. If you're driving home on this Tuesday and you are wondering, I'm going to turn into the Sports Cage and find out what the CFL schedule looks like. Well, we're still waiting. Some weirdness is going on somewhere when it comes to the CFL schedule, and it wasn't released today as we had a little bit of an insider saying that it would be released at 12 p.m. our time. Nada. Allegedly, there is a stickler of a team out there that's making things difficult, allegedly. Don't know. Hopefully we'll find that out soon enough. The Riders did release, before you panic here, listen to the whole story, offensive lineman Trevor Reed today, as he is off for an NFL opportunity. So they release him. He goes and tries his luck down there. Hopefully he makes it. Awesome player. And if not, we got to figure he will be back with the green and white. Elsewhere, the Riders also signed an offensive lineman, Brandon Kemp, from the Hamilton Tiger Cats. So good news there on the offensive side for the Riders. Hockey tonight, Oilers in Boston, Leafs in Philly. Jets welcome the Preds, Sens in Detroit. Those are Canadian teams. SJHL, Melfort's in the Battlefords. Notre Dame travels into Kindersley. The Pats are off until Moose Jaw on Friday, home to Portland Saturday. Moose Jaw does play Lethbridge today. Later this hour, we'll rerun our interview with play-by-play man of the Lethbridge Hurricanes, Dustin Forbes. We talk all the trades. There's more trades coming down in the Western Hockey League. It is an absolute arms race now in the Central Division. Lethbridge hosting Moose Jaw tonight. Saskatoon's in Red Deer. Prince George hosts Vancouver, Victoria, Seattle. Canada wins 5-0 at the Women's Under-18 World Championship. Prince Albert strikers a blocky, former Regina Rebel, 2 goals for Canada in that 5-0 win. They're into the playoff round now to take on the Japanese squad. That's a little rundown of what's going on. No Junior B games tonight. It is time. Let's see the stream here. Yeah, his face is sad. He's a sad, sad man. Let's go.
The all-new Sports Cage and Coast to Coast with Arash Madani is brought to you by Smart Investing Solutions. Be smart with your money. Call Brian Golly at Smart Investing Solutions, 546-2533.
We have to look at the positives, and the one positive is you made it home safely from your venture to Windsor and then into Detroit. Now, I got to tell you, I was driving, so I was listening to the game while driving, which is, it takes you back to being a kid. It's old school. It's fantastic and all that. And I'm sitting there driving, and I'm at Dundurn, coming back to Regina. Then I'm at Davidson, past it, and I'm like, how many times are they going to stall in the red zone? And I'm talking like on the 2-yard line. So when all this is going on, are you foaming at the mouth? Are you screaming? Are you throwing things at the stadium? What's going through your mind as they keep stalling in the red zone?
Well, I'm just like, okay, well, surely this is when we're going to run the ball.
Yes.
Surely this is when we're going to hand it off to Aaron Jones. This may be an opportunity for a screen. Hey, look, we can pitch it out to Ty Chandler or Cam Akers. Surely with 4 trips to the red zone, we're not going to throw a fade to the back pylon or force something into a tight window over and over and over. Thank you, Barney. I was having a great day. It was like they were just so hell-bent on doing it, quote-unquote, their way and showcasing their offensive playbook instead of like 2nd and goal to 3, 3rd and goal to 3, 4th and goal to 3. At some point, just run it. Just run the football.
Are you worried on how Darnold looked in the big game there and how he might look in Los Angeles?
My bigger concern is, did Detroit kind of write up the blueprint on how to slow down Sam Darnold? They brought a lot of pressure. They hit him. But more than that, Barney, Darnold was holding the ball for 2.5 seconds. Here's somebody who's had success having a little bit of time in the pocket, making some reads, making some throws. He was never comfortable. He was under siege the entire night. If you're watching on the stream, you're seeing it. And it wasn't just the sacks. It wasn't just the pressures in the pocket. Even when he would roll to his right or roll to his left, there was somebody there. And I just wonder if you're, I'm just rewatching the game from earlier this season, if you're Sean and you're that defensive staff, are you saying to yourself, okay, this is how we get to Sam? This is how we disrupt that offense. I wonder if that's the blueprint right now.
It was October, but they lost to the Rams. One of their losses was to the Rams. The blueprint thing totally makes sense because we see that happen often.
Copycat league, right?
Exactly. I wouldn't say all the time. We see it happen often. But the other thing too, Arash, I was trying to get my head around, and I brought this up to Alan and Colson when I came in on Monday. It is hard to believe that a 14-win team has to now play the wild card game and go on the road.
It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. And here you could have had a 9-win team hosting a playoff game. But that's been this season. It's been a wild NFL year. I think that for whomever wins, suddenly you go Monday night in LA and then you're going to play Sunday in Detroit. I think that's going to be another disadvantage. But I'll tell you this, Barney. I've been in a lot of stadiums and a lot of venues and a lot of like arenas. I have and this is not recency bias. I have never been in a place as loud as Ford Field was on Sunday.
Really? Eminem. That's why.
It was everything. First TV timeout, they brought out Calvin Johnson. Second TV timeout, they brought out Barry Sanders. A TV timeout in the second quarter, the Portland Trailblazers happened to be in town. Chauncey Billups, who led the Pistons to the 2004 championship in Detroit, he brings the house down. The Lose Yourself, and then Eminem, and then the pièce de résistance. I don't know if this came up on TV or not. 17-9 in the fourth quarter. Vikes have third and long, and they put Aiden Hutchinson up on the big screen. And the crescendo was just deafening. Darnold gets sacked, game over. That is a real home field advantage because teams can't communicate. They can't change plays, all that kind of stuff. Detroit's going to be a real tough out. On top of it all, that home field is real.
Arash, you were reminding me of an all-time baseball game that I attended. It was Omar Vizquel's last game with the Toronto Blue Jays. It was in 2012, and I sat beside one Arash Madani at the game.
Yes.
I've been meaning to bring that up forever. No, it was the very last game of the year.
Last game, okay.
Very last one. We got tickets through Ticketmaster. I was working with the Hamilton Bulldogs, the American Hockey League at the time. And every time I'm here and you're on, I want to bring up the fact that some 12, 13 years ago, we sat beside each other at a Blue Jays game. And while we're on the Blue Jays, the USA Today is reporting the team and Vladdy are over $100 million apart. Are we concerned for our Bluebirds?
I think so, for a few reasons. So the number that the Blue Jays have offered Vlad is apparently $340 million. And this is after they were in the Ohtani and Soto sweepstakes, where the first number started with a 7. So more than double. And the Blue Jays organizational mismanagement has allowed it to get to this point. Like, that's the problem. Like, you have a homegrown asset. How are you now a year away from free agency? But more than that, Vlad has said when spring training starts, and Kellin, we're 5 weeks away from pitchers and catchers reporting in Dunedin. Vlad has said when he shows up to camp, negotiations are done. So they have themselves a 5-week window, and $100 million is still $100 million. I actually thought it'd be more. But it's bad. It's really bad.
When you talk about sort of like you talk about the mismanagement of the Blue Jays, are they like harboring on or getting pretty close to the fact where they almost have to give a blank check? They almost have to say to Vladdy, you know what? Whatever you want, we need to pay you, or we're going to completely lose our fan base here soon? Or do you think they're either too stubborn or don't need to go that far and rebuild it again? Like everybody's, moving on here.
I wonder, Kellin, and I mean this sincerely, I really wonder if they realize they're in the entertainment business. Like this is a front office so caught up in spin rate and collaboration and all the analytics and all of this and all of that and all their projections. This is still an industry where the fan base needs to be invested. They need to care. They want to have a reason, and they want to be entertained. And it's a front office that's you talk about the stubbornness. They've been so stubborn on pitching and defense, run prevention. People aren't showing up to watch ground balls. People want to be entertained. People want to see the ball in the air and the ball go over the fence. They want to see runs. They want their star, their homegrown star that they bought the jersey of, that they followed since he, broke into the big leagues at the age of 19. They want to see that. And I just think there's such a disconnect between the front office and the fan base, and they're going to realize very quickly that there are not just plenty of good seats still available, there are plenty of good sections still available.
Yeah, I agree.
Can I go back to the NFL now?
Yeah, Barney wants to go back to the NFL.
Sorry, I'm bored.
Sorry, super quickly, Arash, at the end point there, and this won't require a response. So Barney's going to get to go to the NFL at the end of this. But like you talk about, the entertainment business, it's a wonder that the highlights that we consistently see of the Blue Jays are Joe Carter, 93, Batista, 2015, Robbie Alomar, 92. But I'm just wondering when we're going to, maybe they want us to show more highlights of Juan Guzman spinning one in, 93, or Dave Stewart in the ALCS.
Give me a little Kelly Gruber.
Kelly
Gruber,
the hot
corner.
Again, home run. 92 World Series with the chop.
How about some Lloyd Mosby?
I don't got anything. That's before my time.
Barney just wants to see the mullets. That's what he wants to see. He wants to see John Olerud wearing the helmet playing first base.
John Olerud had bad salad, though. That was a bad mullet. At least Gruber's was all curly. Looked like a Kurt Harnett out there on the hot corner. Okay, let's go to NFL here. That's okay. We go those old school Blue Jays for how long? We played. Are we going to play the actual interview? Or do you want it? Can we play it for people just to give them context, the Tyreek Hill post game? Okay, here we go. What an idiot.
How do you feel about not getting to 1,000 yards this season?
I mean, it is what it is, man. It's life, man. I feel like at the end of the day, there's a lot of things that, I need to reassess, about, my career. And, just see what I need to do, to continue to get better, as a player, so I can continue to reach that 1,000-yard mark. So,
as a captain, what is the message you have to these guys in the off season? If you don't feel this at the end of the season next week?
I don't even know, bro. This is my first time. I haven't been in the playoffs, man. So, I mean, for me, like I said, man, I just got to do what's best for me and my family, dog. If that's here or that's wherever the case may be, man, I'm finna open that door for myself, dog. As I'm opening the door, I'm out, bro. So it was great playing here, but at the end of the day, bro, I got to do what's best for for my career and what's best. Because I'm too much of a competitor to be, just
Does that mean you're
out there.
Mean you thinking about leaving here?
If it is, hey, yes.
It is just so much of that I just despise. Not that I was ever a Tyreek Hill fan, but
okay, but hold on, Tyreek. You say you're a competitor and you want to win.
Yeah.
Well, you were catching balls from Patrick Mahomes winning Super Bowls.
Exactly.
I don't begrudge you wanting to go get paid somewhere. Okay? You have a limited amount of time to make the amount of money that you're going to make. So you chose to sign that deal in Miami. Now, and I've thought about this. If you look at the last, say, 25 years, the 2000s, there are few franchises in all of professional sports who have been worse, who have been who have been so unaccomplished than the Miami Dolphins. Number of playoff wins by the Miami Dolphins in the 2000s. 0.
Wow.
You knew what you were getting yourself into. And your quarterback can't stay healthy. And if it's not the concussions, it's an ankle. And if it's not this, it's not that. But Tyreek, you took the bag. And you took it knowing what this was going to be. And now changing his profile photo to put his head over Antonio Brown's body, saying see ya. Look, I know what the Dolphins are doing. They're saying we had exit meetings and everything's fine now. They're just trying to preserve any kind of trade value. But yeah,
I don't want, like, he so reminds me of that Antonio Brown mold.
Yeah.
Now, after hearing that, it's like, dude, you're a competitor. You took the bag like you said. Now you're acting like an absolute jackass, immature. And did the guy ask him as a captain on this team? Is he a captain?
Yes.
What a loser. Like, I don't know. It'll be interesting who touches him. I bet you we could really go 5 teams that are going to get involved in that smoke right
Raiders.
there.
I was going to say Raiders, yeah.
Jets. Yeah.
Possibly Cleveland Browns.
Right. New York Giants, maybe?
Maybe. Raiders again. Raiders will double down.
Right.
What about our New England Patriots?
Shut up. Leave them out of it. They got enough issues.
Here's a question. Who's the next coach of the Patriots?
Byron Leftwich.
Oh God.
You know what I heard today? It wasn't on a Boston station. It was just on a national one from down there. Pete Carroll.
Oh boy.
I was actually at the gym. I almost fell off the unit I was on. And I said, is that even possible?
Here's the bigger question. What unit were you on?
Big old school rowing machine guy. Yeah.
I thought it was the sauna. Like Pete Carroll's trying to get his name out there anywhere. It started with Chicago, now New England. Like to me, it's Mike Vrabel or Ben Johnson, I would have to think. Brian Flores today said he'd be interested in going back. But
it's got to be Vrabel.
But what if Vrabel goes somewhere else? Like Vrabel's going to be able to call the shot. And this is what New England has going for it. They have Drake May, who took real steps forward this year as a rookie, and they have some cap space.
Huge cap space.
But the idea that Mike Vrabel is going to get a real kind of runway here as coach, like they just fired Gerard Mayo after 1 year. And Mayo was part of the Kraft Mafia and was part of the Patriot Way. And he had it in writing that he was going to be Belichick's successor. I just think these guys had so much success early that they're delusional of who and what they are right now.
I agree. I am not delusional. I agree with all that. So let's leave the Patriots to burn over in that corner and let's move on to playoff football.
Yes.
Well, if you don't want to talk about New England, let's talk about the rest of the AFC. No, playoffs begin this weekend. The easy teams to back: Kansas City, Detroit, Philly, Buffalo. But I think you and I are thinking the same direction here. Tell us about who your pick is.
Mine's Baltimore, guys, and I'd be a lot more confident in the Ravens if Zay Flowers was healthy. But it just seems that the Ravens are kind of off the grid, and I don't understand it. Here's a team that's won its last 4 ball games. They went out and got Derrick Henry this offseason, and oh, by the way, he just has 2,000 all-purpose yards this year, and it would have been a lot more, but they rested him.
Yes.
Last couple of weeks.
Smart.
Like Lamar put together an MVP season. Like he just became the first to throw for 4,000 and rush for 900. He has over 40 touchdowns and only 4 picks. and their defense is the best rush defense in football, and they've only given up 43 points in the last 4 games. Like, it's just everything to me is saying Baltimore is the best built team going into the playoffs, except their number one receiver is hurt. That's what gives me pause.
Is there any way? Can we write this down? Where's our hot take pad? Chargers beat Houston.
Yes.
Chargers upset Kansas City.
Yeah, I mean, it's a third divisional game. It's just the Chargers haven't beaten anybody this year. You know,
Harbaugh, though, man, his weirdness and his game planning, and he's seen them and now twice. I just, for some reason, and maybe it's because of my disdain for the Chiefs, as I've made public on this forum before. Maybe it's just wishful thinking. I mean, because you know what's going to happen? Buffalo, Baltimore are going to meet, and that is going to be a ring-a-ding-dong dandy.
Is it ever? Is it ever? Is it ever? Don't you guys just get the sense that this is it for Kansas City's, like, this era? Like the Andy Reid era, the Chris Jones, Travis Kelce era? Like
Taylor Swift's going to write a song about it, and it's going to rock it to number 1.
I wonder what the title of the song would be. But I don't know. KC's just gotten by the skin of their teeth over and over again, and I'm just not sold on Kansas City this year.
That's why I'm thinking Chargers, man, upset, book it, hot take. If I'm wrong, who cares?
If you're wrong, who cares? Sure.
I feel bad. Like we talked about, I feel bad for your Vikings in the situation that they're in. And then you brought up the good point on the winner of that game's got to go all the way the next Sunday to Detroit. Really, the game that it could end up being an unreal football game. Personally, my give a what meter is at 0 on is Washington, Tampa, and then Green Bay and Philly. And Philly being weird Philly with Sirianni or whatever, he's not given that Hurts is a full-gone conclusion to play this game. You got to think he is, but man, and then somebody's out for Green Bay that's key right now.
Christian Watson, the receiver, just got an ACL. Their top corner, Jair Alexander, is out. I just also get the sense that Green Bay is kind of coming apart at the seams. They just kind of hit that wall a couple of weeks ago. Look, Jalen Hurts now, it's been 2.5 weeks with the concussion. A lot of signs point that he's going to play. And I would suspect that him playing, a lot of this is going to be Saquon Barkley left and Saquon Barkley right and Saquon Barkley middle. But yeah, they need him healthy. Look, if he's healthy, I think Philadelphia is on a collision course to end up in Detroit. I really do. But they've been a weird team all year, always drama.
Philadelphia Chargers Super Bowl. Don't book it.
I was going to say bet on it this time, Barney.
No.
Look, obviously I'm rooting for my Vikings to beat the Rams on Monday night. But if that doesn't happen, here's what I'm rooting for. There is a possibility still that the Rams and the Chargers could both host the NFC and AFC championship game, and they share the same stadium. So what would then have to happen is that one of the games would be Sunday and one of the games would be Monday.
Move one to the Coliseum.
Nah, it'll be at SoFi. There's way too much money.
But isn't that an interesting nugget that probably they never thought about that happening at the Meadowlands, because as if the Jets and Giants were ever going to be in the dance together. Yeah, that would be. I'm rooting for that now. Sorry.
Like we all root for chaos.
Yes. What would they do? One Saturday, one Sunday then?
I think one Sunday, one Monday, because you have the extra week, right? The Super Bowl has between the conference championship.
But Monday?
Yeah.
I don't know. I would think they would go Saturday, Sunday.
I just think it's you want to give them ample rest.
That would take so much chaos for that to happen as 4 and 5 seeds on either side. Yeah. But as an Easterner, I'm pulling for a Detroit Buffalo Super Bowl.
There you go. This is what's amazing about the NFL is it really doesn't matter size of market. We're going to watch anyway. You know, if it's let's just say Detroit, if Cincinnati was still in it, like who's going to watch the Tigers and the Reds play a game? But suddenly, if it's Lions, Bengals in the Super Bowl, hey, sign me up.
Buffalo, I'm trying to figure out something that's similar. That they would be the Lions,
Sabres, Red Wings, right? Like who's watching that?
And the Buffalo. Wow, it would be two franchises that have just been drugged through everything possible and beat up and heartbroken and then heartbroken again and then beat up again. And they just both come out of dumpsters and they go, let's go. That would be awesome, actually. There's so many good ones. Okay, we'll regroup on Thursday. We got another full day to talk about things. It'll be way more Blue Jay talk on Thursday. Just kidding. Okay, well, I'm glad. Like I said, I'm serious. I'm glad you're safe. You never sent me the picture of the hotel bottle opener.
No, I didn't. I did.
All right.
It was actually a little nicer than I thought it was going to be.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
See you guys.
Coast to Coast with Arash Madani. For Brian Gawley and Smart Investing Solutions. Let's take a quick break. It is a SportsCage streaming at sportscage.com. It's Barney, Shynkaruk, Kellin, Colson, and Alan back with you. About 20 minutes left. We're going to run the Dustin Forbes interview again for the Western Hockey League and crazy trade day yesterday and today in the Western Hockey League. We'll get to that in a bit. Tomorrow, Wing Wednesday at the Canadian Brew House. 69-cent wings, a mountain of flavor to savor and flavor of the month. Do that wing thing every Wednesday at the Canadian Brew House. 2 locations in Regina and 1 in Moose Jaw. What did you say, Colson, the odds were for the Chargers? Was it the Chargers?
The Chargers to win the AFC is plus 1,500 right now.
Yeah.
And for the whole Super Bowl, where are they?
Well, that's not that crazy.
Plus 35.
Let's just go with the AFC. Oh, will I celebrate if they knock off the Chiefs? It's possible. There's no doubt about it. So many different scenarios to go down in the NFL.
What about in the majors? What are you thinking?
Milwaukee and San Diego.
Paul Molitor and Tony Gwynn.
Paul Molitor. I
had to send a text to Arash when we were done.
Yeah, the old Blue Jay days. We got our quota for Blue Jay talk for January on the Sports Cage right there. So many trades. Western Hockey League. Like I said, we're going to get to that with Dustin Forbesy coming up. Voice of the Lethbridge Hurricanes. They're in action tonight. Moose Jaw's in Lethbridge. Saskatoon's in Red Deer. Pats are off until Friday when they're in Moose Jaw. Then they're home on Saturday. SJHL tonight. Melford's up in the Battlefords. Notre Dame is in Kindersley. No games in the Junior B Loop today. Strikers of Blocky, 2 goals for Canada as they dump Czechia at the Women's World Championships. And now they get set to take on Japan in the quarterfinals. Obviously a collision course to take to meet again at AAA Midget tomorrow. Pat Canadians are in Estevan to take on the Bears. Is that what I'm seeing here? Maddox Schultz. Go and check it. No, the Bears are Estevan.
Estevan, yeah. Rowan Burgess.
What a great
captain
barn.
of the
What a great barn.
Captain of the Bears, Rowan Burgess, Regina.
So you can, Maz, you guys have to keep Maz up to date on that. Make sure that we're all over it. Old Junior B action tomorrow as well.
Interesting nugget, WHL, reading between the lines here.
Yeah.
There was just a trade 9 minutes ago. Everett traded a 20-year-old, Bo Courtney, to Kamloops, which opens up a 20-year-old spot for them leading into the next few days. Who that will be, don't know, but they just opened up a 20-year-old spot with 2 days to go to the deadline. They're, of course, as I was saying to you earlier, way ahead in the standings.
That's interesting.
For the Scotty Monroe Trophy, like 15 points up on this arms race we're talking about in the Central. They're 15 points up. They're 28-5. They have 61 points.
Who would be the 20-year-old that they would want? Some 20-year-old is going to get real lucky and go to an absolute contender. The other rumor I'm hearing is Stansel from Kelowna is on the move to the Central Division.
Back to Calgary, yeah. So that'll be the WHL just finished putting out a post like an hour ago talking about the back end of those three teams and who had the best back end. And now Calgary goes out and gets Stansel, who obviously was lights out for Czechia.
Lots of trade talk. We'll talk about it again with Dustin Forbes here coming up momentarily. You are listening to the Sports Cage on 620 CKRM, and we're streaming at sportscage.com.